speaker who is about to come on to the call. She's such an amazing leader within the team. Drop a she trades in the chat box for me, please. Let's go. Drop a she trades in the chat box for me, please. So, I remember when I met this leader, right? It was about a year and a few months ago. And I remember the first time when Kai had came to Rise Up. I was back in March 2019. And I could never forget while I'm there speaking in front of the crowd, one of the faces that I saw was her. I didn't even know who she was at that time. And so said, so done. She's a part of the team right now. All right. So like I said, she's such an amazing leader, leading her team from the front. P600. Drop a done in the chat box. She's about to break ranks to Platinum 1000. Drop a done in the chat box for me, please, guys. An amazing leader, like I said, leading her team from the front, and she's grown so much in developing right now. She's not just developing herself, but developing phenomenal and amazing other ladies as well within her team, and can't wait to celebrate her at Platinum 1000. So without further ado, we often hear the term brother from another mother. Well, I would say this is my sister from another mister. All right, so without further ado, this is Ward. Rochelle, are you on the call?
I'm right here, Rudy. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Loud and clear. Take it away.
All right, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Many of you might not know me, but my name is Rochelle, and as Rudy said, I'm a part of the Shift team. Of course, I want to give it back to Rudy as well. He is a phenomenal leader and somebody who has always been very open with his growth and his transition in this opportunity. So I want to welcome everybody on this call right now. I want to first start off by saying that I am super nervous, even though I talk to people all the time. I'm nervous because I want to make sure that you get this message today. It was downloaded into my spirit last week, and I did not realize that the opportunity to share it would be today. So I am nervous because I really want to make sure you get it. So bear in mind that I'm nervous. I might be stumbling a little bit, but I really want you to get this message. So I want you to type in the chat right now, what is the message for today? What is the topic? What are we talking about? What is the topic? What is the topic of today? I'm going all in. I'm going all in. And you know, we're about to start a new week. We're already in the last quarter of the year. I'm going all in. Okay, I want you to bear this in mind. I'm going all in. And I wanna say it one more time. I'm going all in. Ladies and gentlemen, I was reading the book of Kings, right? And this story came to me in the book of Kings. And I want you to take notes because this is heavy stuff. Okay, take notes. This is heavy stuff. I was reading the book of Kings, 2 Kings 6, chapter 6, 24, and going into chapter 7 to 20. All right. Now, here's the situation. I want to give you the details of this story because it is very important and very practical for us today. Now, Israel is a nation and they have a king, right? And in this particular passage, an army came, an external, a powerful army came and literally surrounded the city. Now, when the army came and surrounded the city, boom, the city's supply was cut off. The city's normal life was cut off. Does that sound familiar? Type a 222 in the chat if that sounds familiar. A powerful army, a very strong external circumstance, situation came in and cut off the entire nation so that every single person they had the same situation. This is crisis for everybody. Everybody was experiencing crisis because an external force came in and cut off the supply, cut off the norm for this country, right? And I know you can relate to that. I won't say anything else. You can relate to that, right? Now, there are three things I want to cover today. Three main things I want to cover today. I want to cover the desperation, the decision, and the divine. The desperation, the decision, and the divine. So bear in mind, here is a country, here is a nation that is now blocked off, cut off, surrounded by a powerful army. So let's begin with the desperation. Now, because their supply is cut off, because things are no longer normal, desperation begins to set in for the masses, right? There's a sudden economic crisis. Now, how do we know it's a crisis? If you look in that same scripture, it says that a donkey's head cost 80 pieces of silver. That's crazy. That is crazy. Type 80 in the chat if you understand what's going on here. People can buy a donkey's head for 80 pieces of silver. The second thing that showed that this was a real desperate time, people were buying and selling doves' dung. That's feces. Feces. They were buying and selling doves' dung for 5 pieces of silver. So you can see what's going on here. There's desperation in the city. People are doing perverse things. Now, how bad did it get? It got so bad that women started collaborating with each other. They started collaborating with each other because they're planning to eat each other's children. That's how bad things got. And the moment the king heard that, he's the power figure, he heard this information, he went off in the head. He was like, impossible, impossible. So much so that he took off his royal robes and he was just walking around like a beggar. In sackcloth, in ashes. This is a dire circumstance. Okay, so because there is a crisis, there is loss of value, there is perversion. People are starting to squeeze their budget. Does that sound familiar? Type squeeze in the chat. People are starting to squeeze on their budget. They're minimizing their budget. Type squeeze in the chat, right? And on top of that, the quality of life is being reduced. We used to go out to eat. We don't go out to eat no more. Sounds familiar, right? So in essence, ladies and gentlemen, the situation presented itself. And now the city begins to die because they're cut off from their supply. The city begins to die. And if you get to a point where you're buying donkey's head and you're buying dove feces and you're collaborating with people to eat your children, this is a hopeless mindset. This is a hopeless mindset. And this is the mindset of the majority. This is how they react to crisis. All right, so I want to move off from the desperation and now I want to talk about the decision. I want to talk about the decision because in this particular time of crisis, you would think that, maybe a strong hero rise up and rescued everybody. And the fact of the matter is the heroes are actually the underdogs. People who were living outside the city. All of you know what a leper is. Lepers are automatically ostracized. They don't belong in the masses. They're different. They're outsiders. Now, there are a lot of people on our team. We are to take over. We are the outsiders. We think differently. We move differently, right? So these lepers actually are the ones that decided to do something different, okay? So now they're outside. They are already accustomed to being in a desperate situation. They are being eaten alive. Right? They have a life-threatening disease. Now, you might be thinking, what does this have to do with us as a team? Very simple. How many of you right now at this point, you are being eaten alive because you're lacking motivation? You're being eaten alive because you're lacking drive. You're being eaten alive because you have no inspiration. You have little activity. You say that you're part of this team. You say that you are a trader, you're an investor, you're a builder, but you don't have the activity to prove it. Last week, your activity was almost zero. You are being eaten alive by excuses. So these lepers, this is the situation. And they could say, you know what? I can decide to sit here and let this life-threatening disease eat away at me until I am gone. I'm no longer here. And I want you to apply it to your life because we're starting a new week. Motivation, drive, inspiration. You're not doing anything. You have excuses all the time. What excuses are coming out of your mouth all the time? Are you being eaten alive? Are you between two places? Because the fact of the matter is, these lepers, they were outside the city. They were not inside. They were outside because they're already ostracized. But they have behind them is a place where people are doing crazy stuff. And ahead of them is the army that cut off and locked up everything. So here they are in the middle, in between places. They cannot stay there. Otherwise, what's going to be the decision? If we stay, we die. If we stay, we die. Anyway, if you stay, you die. So what did they decide? They decide, you know what? Let's go towards the army. Let's walk towards the army because, hey, they might have mercy on us and they might give us food. You know, they might have mercy on us. So we have an option, stay and die or go, and maybe we might live. They made a decision. And you know what? They moved because they made a decision. Now, there is another thing I want to say. These lepers decide to go all in. All in, because at the end of the day, what? You could die. Because when you're going towards an army and it's just a couple of you against an army? Come on. Guess what's going to happen? Right? So are you going to go all in this week? Are you going to take a risk and actually stop using excuses? Are you going to put in an hour a day and stop, like not getting any money? Are you going to stop that? Are you going to go and look for inspiration? Are you going to get your drive back? Are you going to get motivation? Are you going to take a risk and step out of where you are right now? Because the fact of the matter is you're not stationary, you're mobile. You can choose to go ahead. You can choose to make a choice. You can choose to make a decision. And guess what? You're not doing it by yourself. You can do it with someone else. If you lack inspiration, if you lack drive, motivation, inspiration, all these things, connect with somebody and go forward. Type it in the chat. Go forward. Connect with somebody and go forward. Now, let me tell you really quickly what happened. They went forward and certain things happened. And when they got to the army was not even there. They were not there. And they went into the tents and they ate. And they pick up all these amazing things and they went and hide them. And they went into another tent and they start shopping, picking up stuff. They walked right into wealth. They walked right into wealth. They walked right into abundance because they made a decision. And you know what? What was different about it too? They said to each other, listen, this ain't fair. We have all of these things going on for us. We're going to go and tell the king. And what I love about these lepers is that, number one, not the fact that they shared, right? But the fact that they went and they acknowledged and honored the king. Remember, the king was sitting around like a beggar. I mean, he can't do nothing about the situation. At least he thought so. The lepers sent word to the king and they honored the structure. They honored protocol. And they shared with the king, listen, Your Majesty, we went out, we faced off with the army, and they're not there. But there's a lot of food, there's a lot of things that the city needs. They went and tell the king. For the builders on the call, who are you going to tell? Who are you going to tell? You tapped into wealth. Who are you going to tell? Type share in the chat. Share. Type share in the chat. And we're winding down with our last point. Type share in the chat. Because if you are one of the people who tapped into wealth, you have access to abundance, and all around you people are in desperation. People are doing strange things, trying to survive, and you tapped into wealth and you're not sharing. Something is wrong. The beggars said to themselves after they hit the third tent, and mind you, an army is a big thing, right? An army. And they went into 3 tents and they said, no, this is not right. I gotta share this. And I want to leave you with one more thing. The divine. We talk about this all the time. We talk about the fact that success is 90% spiritual and 10% physical and whatnot. And I want to tap into just this last part. The divine. If you read in 2 Kings 7 verse 1, you're going to learn that the prophet sent a message gave a message to someone. He gave the message to someone. He said, you know what? Around this time tomorrow, fine flour and barley will only be for a shekel. thinking about this. I didn't do the research, but shekel is a lot less than a silver. So he said, no, barley and flour is going to be so in abundance in the city that you're going to pay for them cheap. Talking about supply and demand. Because right now, remember, they're buying donkeys' heads and what strange things. But the prophet said, the prophet gave a vision. The prophet gave a vision. The prophet gave a word. And he said, by this time tomorrow, there'll be ample. There will be a lot. There will be abundance. And you know what the messenger of the person who got that word thought? The messenger thought, impossible. The messenger couldn't receive the word. And he said, impossible. And you know what the prophet told him? You're going to see this come true, but you will not take part in it. I want you to write this down. It's very, very important. Those people who do not have belief, be careful. Be careful if you don't have belief. Remember I told you that the lepers shared the word. The lepers shared what they found with the king. The king told that same messenger to go check it out. Everything was verified, right? Everything was verified. But that same guy, he went and opened the gates for people to go out. Now remember, if you're suffering for years and all of a sudden somebody say, come open the gates, come to the city, we got things over here, you're gonna have a stampede. Ladies and gentlemen, the word had to be fulfilled. Those of you who are following David Imanitie, the word had to be fulfilled. And in order for the word to be fulfilled completely, disbelief has to go. Disbelief has to go. And if you read the last verse in chapter 7, the man who did not believe, he was trampled to death. He was trampled. Trampled to death. The word is going to come forth. Those of you who've been saying the word every single day, it's going to be coming forth maybe this week, maybe next week, maybe next year. But be careful. Do not say impossible. Do not have disbelief, because what happened to that man? He was put to death because the word had to come forth, and the word cannot come forth with disbelief in the presence of whatever. It couldn't have disbelief. So he had to die. Because the word has to come forth. Second, let's go quick because I don't want to get too excited. The next thing I want you to know is that the lepers, their action, their willingness to share, saved everybody. But if you read the story, here's something really interesting, and that's why I call this the divine. These lepers, or just a couple of them, just a couple of lepers, they made a decision, and they went forward. Let me tell you what happened from the perspective of the army. Let me tell you what happened. The lepers went out to go towards the army. The army literally heard the lepers coming. The lepers believed and they acted. Their actions, their vibration was so strong. Their vibration, their belief was so strong that the armies heard. They heard two armies approaching. They heard two armies approaching. They didn't hear the lepers. They heard two armies. And they said to themselves, oh my goodness, Israel is sending the Egyptian armies against us and the Hittite armies. This powerful army that surrounded the city, that changed the economy, heard the lepers coming. The lepers vibrated so strong that the army heard an army coming. They didn't hear the lepers coming. They heard an army coming and they fled. How strong is your vibration? How strong is your vibration? How strong is your level of belief? How strong is your level of belief? Because the assumption is what I see or what I hear is true, but it's not. The army thought the wrong thing. Their mind was not correct. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The lepers thought and they acted. The army thought and they ran because they were afraid. They were frightful. They were scared. They were traumatized. Oh my goodness. They didn't believe they were strong enough to come up against two armies that turned out to be a couple of lepers, couple of outcasts, people who were walking dead. So what I want to leave with you today, in closing, leave where you are behind. You can't stay there, you're going to die. Do not stay with lack of motivation. Do not stay with lack of inspiration. Do not have all these excuses coming out of your mouth. Don't stay where you are. Don't stay where you are. Leave it behind. Drop that in the chat real fast. Leave that behind. Leave it behind. Now, I don't want you to look with your eyes because it's going to mess you up. Leave where you are behind. This week, you're not going to be lacking motivation. You're going to hunt for it. This week, you will not be using excuses. You're going to be saying your vision. You're going to be saying the word. You're going to be saying it because speaking is a part of belief. And finally, your faith and your actions. Your faith and your actions. That's your sustenance. Your faith and your actions. That's your sustenance. That is going to sustain you. All right. So let me know, ladies and gentlemen, I've come to the end of my presentation. This has been Keys to a Successful Week. Are you going all in? Are you going all in? There's 69 people on the call. Are you going all in? Action, faith, words, your vibration. Guard your mind. And with that being said, I want to thank everybody for listening in. I hope you got some value. Type in all the little chats. You're going all in. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear, I'm not motivated. I don't want to hear, I did nothing today. Go all in. There is a wealth of abundance waiting for you. With that being said, thank you all very much. Have an amazing, amazing week. Rudy?
I'm there. Well, you said it all. Great as usual. So with that being said, guys, we are going all in. Let's go.